Still going to run me through the tutorial of how to use Windows 8. Isn't that nice of Microsoft? Yes, let's start. That is a good idea. Alright, so as you can see, this is just an evaluation box. I could blow it away at any time. I'm not really tied to it, so um, so let's what do we want to do first? Let's open our control panel. So I've already installed, I believe, RSAT on this box. I hope. So I have access to all of the other stuff. Hopefully you know how to install RSAT. I'm not going to cover it in this video. But we see, even though it's an Active Directory domain, if I open AD users and computers, I see, this is the Windows machine I'm on right now. That's my domain controller. I see my domain administrator. You see all the regular accounts and groups that you see in a regular Active Directory domain. See a whole bunch of built-in groups. I can add OUs to this to my heart's content. I don't think DHCP works because I don't have DHCP installed on anything, but if I think DNS works. dc1@shaver.net. You see I actually have, so remember we looked at those SRV records earlier? That's them right there. So you can even look at, manage your DNS through the DNS manager. Sites and services also works. Although you could only have one Active Directory site, I think, in Samba currently. It doesn't do multiple sites, and you can't do multiple domains. So I couldn't have like domain1.shaver.net as a domain. The Active Directory Administrative Center does not work yet because that requires, I don't know if they're planning to support it or not, but that uses Active Directory Web Services, which I don't even know how you would tie that into Samba. I guess they'd have to run a web server and have it replicate the protocols. So, haven't really looked at DFS management. Let's see, what else do we have in here? There's, if I open the services.msc, we see that there are a few services running on RDC, which is hilarious to be able to, I've never tried restarting these. I'm sure it's a terrible idea. I also see that there's a remote registry. That's interesting. Wow. So this is the registry on my Linux machine. How mortifying. This is the leanest registry I've ever seen. But it's totally there. Even entries and everything. Wow, image path. Lol. That's very funny. Alright, so one more thing that we're going to take a look at is group policy. So when I first looked at Samba, I was shocked that group policy might be able to work. But then I thought about the way that group policy works, and Samba has all the technologies, capable of, supporting group policies. You're just making edits to the properties of the organizational units. That's the heaviest lifting that Samba really has to do. The rest of it is just, replicating things between, shares through DFS and storing things on a Samba share. So. So it is actually very interesting that, and all the policies, especially like Windows 7. What am I looking for? I'm looking for group policy. All of the policies, like the templates and that type of thing, are mostly stored on the client unless you download them from Microsoft and put them on a central store. So let's open up group policy management, and we see, we've got a default domain policy like we normally do in an Active Directory domain. We've got a default domain controller policy, also something we normally have. There's nothing in the policy right now. I don't think. And if we expand out the policies, look at the administrative templates. It says they're retrieved from the local computer. So that means that if we make a change on this computer, it's tied to whatever the settings are on the computer that the policy is applying to. So it's kind of a weird thing where you have different versions of the policy. The version of the policy in Windows 8.1 might differ from the policy in Windows 7, for example, because it's an older version, unless you've been doing your Windows updates. So let's take a look at our sysvol. Oh, and I always do this. I always expect sysvol to be a server, and stupidly, and it is not. So if we go to shaver.net, got our sysvol. We see that DFS is happening. We look, these permissions look really normal. Sometimes, like older versions of Samba, you especially if you didn't have that like X attributes thing specified in ACLs and stuff, you would see like Unix style permissions in here, and it was like really weird to see, and it was hilarious. But in our sysvols, we have scripts, which is empty obviously, but I guess if we were going to do login scripts, we could put them in there. And then these are our two policies that currently exist, the default domain policy and the default domain controller policy. Now you can go online and Microsoft allows you to